You're now listening to Sound Talent Media. Check out more shows at soundtalentmedia.com.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay, with experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
What is up, good people? Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, and thank you so much for tuning in this week. This week, I am joined by Jesse Davis and William Cook from the band TopHouse. TopHouse is a fantastic band hailing out of Nashville, Tennessee, my home away from home. You know I love it down there. And these guys are pretty awesome. We go all over the place on this one, from how the band formed to, guitar pedals and acoustic guitars and things of that nature. But really, it's about being in a working band and what that's like. And the Patreon episode, this is one of the spookiest ones I've had in quite some time. I'm not going to lie. Jesse's got a crazy story, and you're going to want to hear it. And if you want to support this show, help keep it going, and get access to the ad-free feed, you can go to patreon.com, where for just $5 a month, patreon.com/tonemob, that is, where for just $5 a month, you can get access to the ad-free feed. And it really, really, really helps out a lot. So thank you to everyone who has done that over the years and who continues to do so. And that's enough plugging. Let's get into this episode with the dudes from TopHouse. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Tone Mob Podcast, the show about guitar stuff occasionally, sometimes. I'm your host, Blake Weiland, and with me today, I have Jesse Davis and William Cook from TopHouse. What's going on?
Hello, hello.
Why, hello.
William, I think, I can't confirm this for sure, but I'm pretty sure you are the first violinist we've had on the podcast. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I'm honored being...
By we, I mean me. There's no one else here. The royal we, I guess. I don't know what I'm even saying. But yeah, your people reached out to me. You guys were coming through Portland, and I would have went to the show. It was my 10-year-old's birthday. That's the only reason that I did not do that. But
I'm sick of your excuses, Blake. There's always going to be next year.
You're already sick of my excuses. Wait till I get rolling. We're going to have so many excuses for all of my many, many flaws. It's going to be wonderful.
Excellent.
Well, for the listeners who may not be familiar, why don't I let you guys kind of run through your story? You guys make some incredible music. I really like what you do. And how did we get here? Tell me the TopHouse story.
Yeah. So kind of started in, maybe 2013, 2014, somewhere around there, where William and I met in college through a mutual friend. Just kind of started hanging out, jamming, as you do. We were both music majors at the University of Montana. And we kind of just started looking around town in Missoula for little places to play on the street. It was me on guitar, him on violin, it was instrumental stuff. And William was like, "Oh, I grew up with this guy named Joe who's a singer. It'd be cool to have him join the band." So we're like, "Okay." Fast forward, I don't know, maybe 2016, and Joe, he's a couple years younger than us, so he moves to Missoula to get his degree, and that's maybe when you can officially declare the band founded, I suppose. It was the three of us starting out and just played breweries and wedding gigs and whatever you can wherever you can, and we all had this little notion to move to Nashville at some point. I think we all knew we would do it. It was honestly a pretty naive notion, but maybe we'll get into that. And in 2019 we did that just in time for COVID and everything.
Perfect.
And yeah. And meanwhile, Andy, our keys player, he was on a side quest. He also grew up with Joe and William in Butte, Montana. He was teaching little kids music. He was a music teacher, I think kindergarten music teacher. And COVID happened. I think he just needed a change of pace. Saw that a couple buddies had moved to Nashville, and so he just kind of came over just to kind of be around the music, not necessarily to join the band, but it soon became sort of a natural fit. And that's when the four of us kind of really hit it in earnest, I suppose. And then, I don't remember if it was 2021 or 2022, we had a video or two take off on social media. And that's kind of that, honestly. Sort of I never know if it's a combination of dumb luck, just being in the right place at the right time, or if there's any skill involved in that. But I'm just glad to be here, whichever one it is. So, but that's kind of the story of TopHouse in a nutshell, I suppose.
Yeah. So did you guys know from very young, like you kind of started the tale in college, but did you guys know from very young that music was the thing? It was what you were going to do, or did it kind of not fall into your lap, but did it appear for you?
I'd say so. Like by junior high school, when I started playing with actually Joe and Andy, that I knew that there was something kind of special about that, and that I wanted to do that and make that a major part of my life.
How about for you, Jesse?
Yeah, for me, I honestly, my high school decided to have a music theory class. Just sort of
sad.
Randomly. And so
we'll go ahead and hit pause here for a second. All right, we're back. We had some technical difficulties. Jesse died and was a ghost, and now he's haunting us. So his spirit, I believe, is with us right now. Jesse, can you speak to us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
William, did you hear that?
I did. He's back.
He's back. All right, we're back. All right, now we can talk about
plane.
It's funny, I had a listener sending me a bunch of paranormal stuff. Shout out Clay. There's a text chat associated with this podcast, and so I get a lot of random stuff in there. And he was like, "Do you like paranormal things?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, sure I do." He's sending me this dead bell. You know what a dead bell is?
No.
Yeah, so like ghost hunters will set up like one of those ding ding bells that you're trying to get the attention for like somebody that's not at the counter. One of them things. And they'll set it up in a supposed haunted place and ask the ghost questions. I'm like, hit 1 for yes or 2 for no. And this thing was ringing in the video, and I was like, well, that's slightly unsettling.
You get one of those for on stage.
Yeah. Some people have cowbells. We have a dead bell. We have a ghost member.
We do concerts for the other
dead bells,
world.
Actually. That's not a bad band name. It's kind of cool, actually. Yeah. The Dead Bells. I like that. It's good. So when you guys are, we'll get back to the subject at hand, which is you fellas. So when you guys are writing, like, what does that process look like these days?
Oh man, it's always so variable. I imagine if you write tunes, you probably know, but it's just kind of wherever the inspiration comes from, I guess. There's a love. It's a strange mix of just sitting down to do the work, but also not forcing a square peg into a round hole. So I guess for me, I just kind of try to always leave a guitar or something on a stand that's close by. Just try and leave it, easy and kind of enticing to get to, and then just see whatever comes out of me. Often try not to worry if it's too cheesy. I write a lot of cheesy songs.
Oh yeah.
Me and Joe, the singer, tend to do we probably each write about half of the songs. And so, yeah, I try not to worry about how cheesy they get. And if anything sticks, I'll show it to the guys and see how they feel about it. Otherwise, just kind of move on to the next one. It's always, it's kind of a messy process, but I guess that's probably why it's fun. Because if you had a process, it would, I don't know, it would become something different, something you can make in a factory, maybe.
Yeah, everybody kind of has a different approach. I have found that I do need to think about it intentionally, and if I want to get it done. But at the same time, you have to know when to put it down. I feel like be like, you know what, today is not the day, or at least this hour is not the hour. We need to stop trying to, shove. But then you have to know, like, oh, no, I've got something by the tail here. Let's keep going.
Yeah.
I know I was supposed to go to this birthday party, but I need to get this out before it goes away.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of that. Fortunately, my fiance is always gracious when she's like, hey, let's go here. Time to do this. I'm like, just give me like 20 to 40 more minutes to finish whatever this feeling is, because it will go away. It kind of ties into it was one of the Beatles was talking about if you sit down to write a song and you start writing it, it doesn't matter how bad you think it is, just write it to the end, write it to the finish, just because you'll never be here again in this same moment in time with the same feeling that you have right now. So even if you discard all that, at least get it out, I think, is the idea.
Yeah.
And I'm honestly not very good at that. a little too I'll save it for later.
Yeah. I found that one of the best things about technology for songwriting anyway is the voice memo app that's always there. Yeah.
I have a folder on my desktop of old phones. It's just full of voice memos, and then the app or whatever on my phone has voice memos going back 2 years now. Everything from junk, little thing humming in the car while driving, don't recommend.
Yep.
To songs that actually became released songs,
That's got to feel kind of fun.
Yeah.
Going out when you find those little nuggets, that started here. Yep. I mean, hey, that's some good content right there.
Yeah, I think
this day and age,
we did that for one of our tunes. I think for our volume subscribers, it's sort of like our Patreon thing. It's volume.com, but we had a song. It's called "Wine of the Weather," and I just kind of found 3 old snippets of voice memos, basically, and just kind of threw them in there and just look at how gross this was, and just kind of how it evolved over time. And, it's kind of you feel a little naked when you show people those kinds of things, but it is just a true, I guess, a look into the process of how that all works. So.
Yeah. I was just thinking about this with a friend the other day, how, growing up, there was a lot of mystery surrounding bands and artists, even the ones that would do TV appearances and interviews and radio spots and whatever, you still didn't really know that much. And these days it can go as far as hey, I'm here eating ice cream. Hey, I'm doing this. And part of me likes it because I like seeing, they're people just like us. Cool. But then also I kind of liked the mystery at times. It was fun to talk about with your friends. What do you think? this is, I'm into metal and I'm into a lot of things. Like, oh, what do you think this scary band does on their day off? And now it's like, oh, they eat ramen.
Yeah. I think about that so much, actually. I've often thought of like kind of taking it to the extreme of like, what would it look like to start some kind of side project where you don't have social media? You play shows, and then the only way word gets around is by word getting around, but word of mouth or whatever. And it's just, I'm sure it would be kind of suicidal for any career that you were hoping on, but it'd be a fun to kind of attach the mystery to it, like you're talking about.
Well, a band that has sort of done that, though they do a lot of social media stuff, is Sleep Token.
Oh,
and
I'm familiar.
That they're a masked kind of metal adjacent. I don't know. They're not like the hardest thing ever, but definitely in that vein. And their whole thing is pretty shrouded in mystery. Like, we don't really know. I mean, I'm sure there are deep dives that people have investigated and figured it out by now, but the whole thing was like not really knowing who they were, and they created their own little world and mythos and all this stuff. And I am constantly fascinated by them. Not only is like the music cool and interesting, and I like the concepts, but I would have never guessed a band like that would be like filling up stadiums,
right?
now,
yeah,
which is absurd. Like, and so they kind of did it. Word got around by just getting around. Obviously, they do content and videos and social media, but you still don't really know who they are, which is interesting.
It's always fun to see how,
I guess it's doable.
Like how people make music work in truly their own little lane. It's kind of, you could maybe model your own career after someone else's, or just truly find your own way. It's almost, for that reason, it makes me feel like I shouldn't be giving career advice to people, because it's like, you just, I don't know, you just kind of do your thing. But
yeah, unless your music is entirely derivative of another type of music, you need to kind of like make your own path. Like where it's like if you're doing something exactly like someone else and do exactly what they did, but otherwise, it's kind of fun.
Well, we kind of touched on this before the disconnection there, but now that we're in our seance mode, when you said you started doing a couple of videos that took off, can you pinpoint a reason at all, or is it just like for some reason this one went? Or what do you think resonated with people about those particular videos?
Yeah, I think it was the first video that really took off was one Andy made. He's our keys player. He does like all the social media stuff. He made a video that said something like, "Hi, we're Top," like all the text on the screen, like, "Hi, we're TopHouse, and we make music for people with uneven foot tans and too many stickers on their water bottle." And what that did is it like found our people. Like, there's so many people that commented. They were like, "That's me," the Choco foot tans and stickers on the water bottle kind of a thing. And yeah, that one just kind of took off.
Wow. Was it on Instagram or
I think
TikTok,
it was Instagram. He might have tried it with both.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember, William? Was that Instagram?
It was mostly TikTok at first, and then Instagram after TikTok.
It's so weird because I've had once in a while you see something do good on one platform and you're like, all right, cool, it'll probably do decent on the other ones. And sometimes that's true. And often, but I do it all the time. I'm like, all right, cool, look at this one that went, and you port it over to somewhere else, even its own raw file like you're supposed to do and all the stuff. And it's like that. I guess they don't like that.
I think, yeah, Andy, I think he's convinced he's probably got some like dark web type theory of they sort of either they talk to each other or they somehow know what is on each platform. And they're like, we don't want it if it went well on that platform. We want it to be different for our platform. I don't know if that's real, but I'm always a sucker for a good conspiracy theory. So.
Patreon's going to be fun then. All right. But there is something to that. I mean, when TikTok first started like eating Instagram's lunch there for a while, Instagram came out and said, if you have a TikTok watermark in your video, because TikTok will automatically save a version to your phone. If you share that version, they came out and said, we will suppress that. And I find that a little bit, like, I get why they would do that, and I get why they said it. But man, I've seen a lot of videos on Instagram with a TikTok watermark. So they didn't do a very good job of it. But yeah. So once those started taking off for you guys, how did you utilize that momentum? Did you just start saying like, hey, we're playing shows here? Or did you try to make more of the same stuff to draw more people in? How did you approach it?
Well, there was a level of preparation we had to. It's not that we were preparing to go viral, but just naturally, after we had moved to Nashville, we ended up getting a residency at a brewery. We played there every Tuesday night. We switched to Thursday night eventually, but that kind of became really like a formative time for us. It was maybe a year and a half where you just get used to playing your set. I think it was 2-hour set, something like that. You just kind of get used to playing your 2-hour set over and over and over and over again. You kind of develop like a level of comfort and I guess just chemistry with everybody on stage that had we not had that, I don't know if there would have been much capitalizing on the social media,
Right.
But to your question, we just kind of kept trying to hit it and see what would stick. I think it must have been February of 2022 when we tried to book our own little tour, like ticketed tour, our first ticketed tour. And just slowly things kind of grew from there. Do you remember much of those days, William? It's all got kind of confused now.
No, I feel like to use like lame kind of business terms, like you've got like the social media was the top of our business funnel, but like we don't make any money off of social media, so the kind of what we had to do was tour to like allow people to come down farther in the funnel if they wanted. That was what ticketed shows did for us, is it kind of allowed us to transform from like, I think if we hadn't toured, we still have people listening to our music, but it would have been like a fad. Whereas like now we've got some like little solid groups of fans throughout the US, and that's pretty neat.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's super cool. I'm always, sometimes in this day and age, it's easy to get hung up on the numbers and be like, man, only this many people saw this, or only this many likes happened. And I always have to try to transport myself back into the early stages of the career and be like, whoa, 10 people saw this. That's crazy. That's wild. 10 people saw this? Because if 10 people were standing right here watching me do something, that'd be kind of weird. Like, it'd be kind of cool. But we were like, it only got 10 views. It only got this. And I know it's not exactly the same thing, but it is, it's still people watching you do something.
Man,
it's a little less personal.
I know exactly what you mean.
It's
there. We did a little YouTube video before we even moved to Nashville. That was just a cover of us playing Stand By Me. And we did like this weird, quirky video where we switched outfits like 70 times or whatever. And it sort of, quote unquote, blew up. It skyrocketed in views all the way to like 1,200 or 1,500 views, which, for us at the time was like, oh man, are we about to be millionaires? Like, what's happening here? It was so exciting. And especially when you put it in perspective of the numbers like you're talking about, like, man, what if there were 1,200 people here watching us do this thing? That would be nuts. So that was a fun little moment. We had that.
Yeah. I'm sort of in the middle of, or at the not middle, but at the early stages of experiencing that again, because I'm launching a new show with my business partner, and it's live right now. But it officially, we're like telling people that it's live tomorrow.
Oh.
But it was kind of it was kind of cool to see it. Well, by the time this comes out, it'll be live for a while, but Tape Spaghetti, everyone, go listen to me jabber about more music stuff in a completely different way than I do on this show. But I just logged in this morning to like make sure everything was ready for launch tomorrow. I was like, somehow like 45 people have already found this without it like being talked about. Like I've kind of talked about it and teased it here and there, but there's been no official announcement. I'm like, how did they even find this?
Right.
It's so weird. It's not like really attached to anything yet. It's just on Spotify and Apple and hidden on YouTube currently. But I don't know.
Yeah, William has a bunch of like kind of horrible bands, as we like to call, and we all kind of like to participate in, but William is sort of like the godfather of these bands, it seems, where, you know, we'll put the music on Spotify and it's all kind of a joke. But then you'll tune in, you'd be like, why are there 4 people listening to this every month, you know?
Yeah, and it just that you get like a irrational sense of joy knowing that Sasquatch Crossing currently has 12 monthly listeners on Spotify. Like, who are these people? Like, I'm so happy that.
How many does Cornfield Boys have now?
Cornfield Boys. I'm gonna just a sec.
Maybe that's
Cornfield.
So wait, are these bands that you have created?
318 monthly listeners on the
Nice.
Cornfield Boys. And these are it's a very long story.
Oh, tell it, please.
I'm
into it. Let's go.
Essentially, the really absurdly quick version that's not insane is there was a high school band, the same one that Joe and Andy and I were all in, and it split up way back when we were in high school. And when that happened, everyone tried to start their own band. And then Joe started a band making fun of everyone starting their own bands. And so like then there were like even more bands. Like it just became kind of this meme that like, you know, whenever you wanted to create a new song, you started a band. And it just kind of continued on as like kind of this like little thing we do. So there's we have a fake country song or a fake country band called the Cornfield Boys. It does have it is on Spotify, and there's a lot of unreleased music, and it's all just ranging from like kind of tongue in cheek parodying of country music to like just flying off the handle, bizarre. Like we have one about that's not released yet, but about a guy that we know is a true story, taking a dead carcass of a dog and sinking it in the middle of a lake. It's just totally.
It's William's
just
latest single release
bizarre.
that he's working on.
And what is that going to be called? Sinking a dog carcass in the middle of the lake?
It's called I Sunk a Dog.
I sunk a dog.
Oh no.
Because sinking a dog carcass in the middle of the lake would be more like a death metal thing.
Totally.
So you could take the same story and put it into a different context and probably make it work. Yeah.
You know, I think our greatest fear is that one of these like spoof bands will just explode and become more popular than TopHouse ever did, and then we'll have to start actually like practicing these or something.
I was about to ask, what if,
man.
would you guys be willing to pivot if Cornfield Boys somehow takes off?
Well,
which it might.
We thought about like, you know, if Cornfield Boys takes off, what we would do is just do like a tour with the Cornfield Boys and then just have them open for TopHouse or TopHouse opens for them, but it's just the 4 of us on stage anyway, coming out, you know?
That would be amazing. Don't even change outfits.
Over.
Just come back out.
Just come right back out. We have plans, don't you worry.
That'd be great. The setup and teardown time would be fantastic.
Minimal,
It'd be like, all right, let's go back, get some water, freshen up a little bit, and get back at it. And confuse everyone. It would be amazing. I think you should do that anyway, even if it doesn't blow up. It'd be fun.
Sort of, I don't know if this is an intentional testing the waters thing, or just part of like the trolled nature that is William. But he's created a playlist of these things, and we have our sound guy just like play it in the club like before the show, so that it's just kind of it's slowly getting into the subconscious of all the people there. And so someday they'll be at a TopHouse show and Cornfield Boys will be playing perhaps. And they'll be like, why do I know this song? Like, it was in you the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you knew. I have a irrational love for this concept. This is amazing.
I would encourage you. Honestly, though, the beauty of these kinds of bands is that it's pure, unfettered creativity with no stakes, and so it just lets you like be goofy and do whatever you want. But I think I've genuinely learned quite a bit, about like the recording process, mixing process, just songwriting process, just from making like garbage, frankly, or awesome. I'll call it awesome garbage because sometimes it's pretty awesome. I can't deny that. But like, it just like releases you. You're free to do what you want, and some of that energy can maybe bleed into your, quote unquote serious songwriting. So it's a great thing. I would recommend trying it out.
Hey, Rocky.
What's up, Vincent?
Did you hear about the latest?
Latest what?
The latest drop from Maris. It's totally insane.
No, tell me more.
Maris just released Enzo X.
What's that?
Enzo X is a supernova expansion from the original Enzo into the highest quality and most flexible studio synthesizer ever created in a pedal format.
Whoa!
Enzo X combines 5 synth types, 5 drives, 3 reverbs, and 5 modulations. It also includes a full 2.5 second stereo delay, all in one pedal.
That sounds hard to use.
It's not. The UI is from the same family as the Mercury X and the LVX. It's super easy to dive in and see exactly what you are tweaking in real time.
Oh, I see. It's right there on the screen.
Yep.
Is it just for guitars, though?
Nope. You can plug almost anything into the Enzo X, including your MIDI controller.
That sounds incredible. Where do I get it?
You can pick up Enzo X online at maris.us or at any of their fine retailers across the globe.
Did you just say across the globe?
They know what I meant.
Wait, are we getting paid for this?
I'm still waiting on that cash money from last time.
He better at least give us pizza for dinner.
I'm not giving him his Enzo X back until he does.
For more information, make sure you check out maris.us, and apparently I have to go order a pizza. How exactly do artists get their music on Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, all these services? How in the world do you get your music there? Well, in the past, you had to use something called a record label. But these days, you can use DistroKid. DistroKid is the absolute easiest way to get your music up on streaming services, and it's the most affordable way to do so. Not only do plans start at $22.99 for the entire year, that's less than $2 a month, DistroKid also does not take a cut of your streaming revenue, unlike some other services out there. Even better if you sign up by going to tonemob.com/distrokid. That's tonemob.com/distrokid. One more time, that's tonemob.com/distrokid. You'll get 30% off. That's right, 30% off their already extremely reasonable prices. So go to tonemob.com/distrokid and get your music out there. We are brought to you today by Sweetwater, specifically the Gear Exchange. You may have heard about this. This is a place where you can go to buy and sell your used gear. Maybe you got a pedal over there that's just kind of collecting dust. Maybe there's something you've been eyeing from the Sweetwater catalog. Well, right now is a great time to turn that unused gear into something you're actually going to use. Even better, if you sell on the Gear Exchange, you can keep 100% of the sale as long as you choose a Sweetwater gift card as your payout method. That is not too shabby because, let's be honest, most of this buying and selling we do is just to fund new gear purchases, and that is a great way to reach a wide variety of customers and keep 100% in your pocket, or rather on your pedal board. So go check out the Sweetwater Gear Exchange and turn that unused gear into something that's actually going to help you write that next huge riff. I really like this because, I mean, especially because like DistroKid, Hey, shout out DistroKid for sponsoring this podcast. Will let me upload as many projects as I want, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I can just go. I can have unlimited dumb bands. That sounds. I don't know why I never considered this before. This sounds amazing.
So when you do
place to put
send us your first single or however you're going to do it, your first album, whatever. I want to hear it.
Oh man, I will. I will. I don't know what I'm going to come up with now because like I said I'm like a rock and metal kind of punk guy, but I have a deep love for country music. Like
perfect opportunity.
I really love it. And actually, I think they meant this in a more serious way, but somebody asked me on Threads, they were like, you talk about country all the time, and I know that you like love it. You should do a country project, but like I don't think this is what they meant. You know?
Only one way to find out.
They specifically shouted out Jason Isbell and Sturgill Simpson. I think they were looking for something else, but yeah, I think I might have more fun. You know, I don't know what the names are just rolling around in my head right now. Well, I got to get off this subject. I won't stop talking about it. This is great.
Don't worry, I keep a list of band names on my phone just in case something like this pops up. So
I think it's just like you got to go with like some sort of weird dude bro name like Steve Graves or something. I don't know where I'm going.
I like Friends with Benedicts.
Friends with Bennett.
Ooh, that's good.
That's good.
Yeah,
I like it. I'm not going to take any of
you.
You might need them.
You can have it. You know, put it to good use.
I do love Benedict.
Yeah. All your album covers are just different kinds of Eggs Benedict. Like, there's just so many directions. The creativity's endless.
Oh, man. And that would give me a reason, as if I needed any more reason, to go hunt down all the Eggs Benedicts around here, which is it's not a bad deal. So, steering back to the story a little bit, have you found that being in Nashville, outside of like you had the regular gig at the brewery, which brewery was that, by the way? Nashville is my home away from home.
Tennessee Brew Works.
Tennessee Brew Works.
Tennessee Brew Works. Yep. There you go. Very nice. Very nice. So other than that, obviously that was helpful. Have you found that being in the city has been beneficial for your career, or would it have really mattered that much?
This is a hard one because the answer is definitely yes. We needed to move to Nashville, but it's more kind of like for us. It's been like, to be cryptic, kind of secondary benefits. Like it hasn't been stuff like we've met this producer, this record label. It's been more stuff like we've just been surrounded by incredible musicians, or like, you know, the opportunities that kind of arise in an area where there's so many just talented people and like, you know, industry people in that area allowed us to do better stuff like the Opry. Like, yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm thinking about this now. I would almost equate it to getting a degree, where when you go to college to get a degree, at least for me, the most value I think I got out of college was meeting people and just life experiences. The degree was kind of like, I guess, a thing that, you know, I now have a piece of paper in my room that says I'm super smart or whatever, but you know, like the actual benefit is just like being there and all the things that maybe you can't plan on. And so Nashville kind of seems like that. You just kind of show up, you're where all the action is happening. And then things that you just couldn't have planned on start happening. It's just opportunities, I guess, one after the other. So yeah, I don't know if we would have made it to where we are now without moving to Nashville.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that town. I'll be back in July. The perfect time to get to Nashville because it's not at all just sweaty and
Where are you based, Mike?
Great. I'm in Portland, Oregon.
Okay. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah. I go to Nashville a lot for Stringjoy stuff. I was telling William while you were connecting, like I'm a part owner of Stringjoy, so I'm there quite often, you know, doing various things.
Okay.
So,
do you always get sick whenever you fly from like west to east, or vice versa?
No.
Okay, because we've always experienced like whenever we fly from Nashville back to Montana, I guess it's probably more humid in Portland. I don't know, but there's some sickness we all seem to get when we fly versus when we drive. I wasn't sure if it was just us or if there's some magic in the air that affects people, but
I've never noticed. No, I've done that flight a lot, and Portland is not humid. It can be, but it's not typically that humid. It rains a lot and it's wet, but it's not like you're just sticky all the time. That's not really how it is.
But you don't have to flaunt your robust immune system in front of us, Blake. Jeez, calm down.
I will say I take an absurd amount of vitamin D.
Okay.
Like I take like 9,000 IUs a day, typically. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It saved me last NAM. I'm convinced that I didn't get the Namthrax because I was on a lot of vitamin D, and everybody else in my crew got sick.
Dang,
so
good to know. We named our van the Black Lung.
Well, I hear a beast.
Oh yeah, no, that's my parents' dog. It's flipping out.
He doesn't want you to have vitamins.
I think the vitamins are well.
Stop talking about that. I don't want you healthy. I like you miserable. But no, that is an interesting phenomenon. I wonder what that is.
Yeah, we named our van the Black Lung because every tour, at least one of us is like a little bit sick, if not like, oh man, how am I going to make it through this next show sick? So,
yeah. Oh, that leads into something. I ask people who tour this because I am not a touring guy. I've always wanted to be involved in music. I love music. It's like all I think about, but I knew I did not want to tour. I hate road trips. I don't want to be in a van with a bunch of people. Some people love it. Do you guys view it as a necessary evil, or do you love it?
Depends on the day, honestly. Like, I'd say overall it's been really excellent. There are certain days where you definitely there are certain days where you're like super high on just how incredible everything is, and there's some days where you're just like, you just feel like you've been run over, and then you have to go in front of a lot of people, and then you go out there and you have like a really good time, but also then your monitor like explodes for no reason, and then like you can't hear yourself, and then you're like grumpy because you can't hear you. So it's like anything, I guess, where there's some days that are really great, and I think we do a pretty good job of touring and getting along and all that sort of stuff. And then there's some days that like, all you want is just to like go home and watch Netflix or something, but you can't. Instead, you're in front of 300 people or something, and you're like, this is not the same as going home and watching Netflix.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I think I've come to understand why you hear all those stories about touring musicians taking drugs, honestly. Elvis Presley taking all those uppers or whatever. There are just times when you're like, man, I don't know if I can do this right now. And then you just do. There's a level of pushing through things for sure, but there's also just kind of a deep, I don't know. Sometimes there's a deep level of tiredness that's maybe more akin to homesickness than it is to tiredness, So it's definitely a balancing act. Keeping an eye on your health and making sure you're good to go, Because a lot of people, people have worked their jobs. They maybe took time off to drive to your show. So, the last thing you want to do is like have to not play a show because you're feeling a little bad. You know what I mean? Like everybody feels bad at some point, like do the thing that you came here to do. So yeah, I guess it depends on the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any tips for those that are maybe about to embark on a tour, or things you've learned that have helped you? I mean, as simple as like, if I drink caffeine at this time, it's helpful, and if I don't do it at this time, it's not. Or I found this great neck pillow, or like whatever. What are some things that you've found that assist you in the touring life?
Yeah. One practical tip is to pee at every stop. Even if you don't think you have to, just pee at every stop. Because you don't know when you'll stop again, and you don't know if you have time to stop. And the I guess more broad kind of philosophical advice would be the old Greek know thyself. Just know yourself well enough to understand what you need versus what's sort of a vice for you. Like if eating fast food at like 1 a.m. right before you go to bed is going to cause you some harm in the morning, maybe don't do it. But if it's not, live your
Right.
life, but just know yourself, what you can handle and what you need to take easy, and make sure to take it easy. You got a long way to go. So
I like it. That's good. William, what do you think?
Man, yeah, no, I mean that's well said. I feel like for some reason the thing that like there are a lot of different pieces of touring and the experience that can make life better. One of the things is sleep. Like if you can learn to sleep in weird places, and kind of do like the influencer power nappy sort of stuff you sometimes see on the internet, where you're just like, oh, I'm power napping for an hour and then I'm up, like that sort of thing can immensely help with touring. There's also this is something I have not mastered yet, but if you can if you're like me and you like a bit of routine in your life, if you can just build tiny little pieces of routine in your life to keep you sane, like maybe it's you wake up and do some stretches, or you stretch before a gig, or every night you read a specific book or something, like that'll also help with stability in a time of effectively like chaos.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, the physical activity gets sometimes outside of playing the show itself gets pushed to the side often.
Definitely.
And
yeah,
that's not helpful for anybody.
Yeah. We try to walk a lot. Like, if we get all set up pretty early, sometimes we'll just wander around whatever town we're in for a few hours, just because, walking for an hour versus sitting for like 4, 5, 6 to 10 hours or whatever in the van. It's more of a balancing act than it is trying to get any cardio in. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I recently had Reverend Peyton on. He's slide player.
Whoa.
You guys may have seen him. Yeah, he's great guy. But he will go after a show, and I really appreciate this. I can't wait for him to come to Portland because we're going to go together. But he will find a gym after the show at like 2 and 3 in the morning and go, and he kind of likes to do the same thing I do, like kind of powerlifting style stuff. And so he'll go and do like heavy deadlifts after he plays a show. And
Nice.
I'm like, man, I don't know of anybody else that does that. And he brings like 150-pound kettlebell with him when he can't get to the gym. So he'll be doing these kettlebell swings in the parking lot. I'm like, you are the man.
Seriously?
I love this so much. This
How
is
much
great.
like miles per
That's
gallon?
honestly so freaking awesome.
Does a 150-pound kettlebell like decrease your miles per gallon by like 1 or 2?
I mean, it's kind of like throwing a smallish dude
Totally.
in the band.
One more person. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yeah. I love it. He sent me a video of him swinging this kettlebell. I'm like, I don't even know if I can swing that thing. I think it looks gnarly.
Seriously.
That thing's big.
Death kettlebell.
But yeah, shout out Reverend Peyton. That dude rules. And if you guys haven't listened to that episode, dear listeners, go listen to it. He tells an insane story about Fletcher from Pennywise, which is absolutely one of the wildest things I've ever heard. So it's just a few back. But anyway, moving that aside, I have one thing about touring that I haven't personally experienced, but I heard it on another podcast. It was with one of the dudes from a band called He Is Legend. And I was like, I've never heard anybody mention this before, but it seems like a good hack. Because like, it's not always possible to get hotel rooms for everybody. And, touring's already expensive. You got to try to minimize that. But what he brought up, and I thought was rather clever, was they'll try to stay at KOAs as often as they can. Because it's a more affordable. There are showers. Everybody gets an actual bed. And you can get cleaned up after the show and like feel like a human. And I was like, oh, and they're relatively inexpensive compared to everybody getting a hotel room. So that's one I always like to mention for anybody listening, or for you guys if you never thought about
That's
it.
cool. I didn't even know KOAs
that's clever.
had rooms. I thought that was purely just like a RV pull up and sleep in your car.
They definitely do that, but some of them have like little cabins you can rent. And then there's even in Oregon, at least, there are state parks that are not KOAs and they're not the cheapest thing in the world, but you can get with a yurt. You guys familiar with a yurt? Yeah, you can get a yurt and then they'll have showers and stuff. And I don't know, usually they're kind of outside the major cities, but they might be on your way to wherever you're going. Yeah. So I was like, oh yeah, that seems like an underutilized resource that bands don't tend to use for whatever reason.
Tell our TM about that one, our tour manager.
There you go. Yeah. Good stuff.
Hello there. I'd like to introduce you to your new best friend, the Chase Bliss Audio Lossy. Lossy is a collaboration between Chase Bliss and Good Hertz. And it's meant to give you some control over those weird digital artifacts that come with very compressed audio. You're hearing it right now. All the changes that are taking place are strictly coming from my playing dynamics. I'm just interacting with the pedal and letting it do its thing. In some true stereo goodness. If you'd like some more details about Lossy, I'd invite you to head over to chaseblissaudio.com. I think you're gonna like what you find.
Sergeant and Mr. Smith, you're gonna love this house.
Bunk beds in a closet?
There's no field manual for finding the right home. But when you do, USAA Homeowners Insurance can help protect it the right way. Restrictions apply.
Switch to Verizon Business and get more from your internet without paying more for your internet. Get LTE Business Internet starting at $39 a month when paired with select business mobile plans. That's unlimited data, and with it, unlimited possibilities. Start saving today with Verizon Business, ranked #1 in small business internet customer satisfaction by J.D. Power. Starting price for 25 megabits per second LTE internet plan with smartphone plan savings, plus taxes, fees, and economic adjustment charge. Terms apply. For J.D. Power 2024 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
So another question. This is more probably what we should get into because supposedly this is like a gear podcast, but it kind of hasn't been for a long time. You guys, travel with like a lot of acoustic instruments and you're traveling in vans, like you mentioned. Do you find yourself having to mess with them a lot, or do you use like humidipacks or something to try to keep it consistent in the cases? Or how do you guys care for these things when touring in somewhat harsher conditions?
This is a smart question that we have not thought of very much. We have not done, or at least I haven't for my violins, haven't done anything particularly intense. And that's because when I grew up in Montana, you just kind of let the violins acclimate to the dry climate and you're like, yep, they're okay now. And then they only get angry if you take them to like Hawaii or Florida or something. Yeah, no, Jesse might have more thoughts on this, but I know this is something I need to learn more about.
Yeah, we pretty much always, like 99% of the time, bring our instruments in to like whatever hotel we're staying at. We don't like leave them in the van overnight or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Try to keep them decently temperature controlled, both for obvious like stealing reasons, but also maybe more so for just like the temperature reasons and things like that. I also, when we go and we do a sound check, when we kind of push our things out of the way so the opener can kind of get set up, I always want to bring an instrument back to the green room, but every time I've done that, you just never know. Sometimes a green room is like 20 degrees different from on stage. And I'll take, say, for example, my mandolin. The biggest pain in the butt instrument to tune is the freaking mandolin. I'll take it to the green room and I'll be playing it.
Oh yeah.
I'll spend a solid chunk of time tuning it, feeling like I got it good. Then I walk on stage and I hit the first note and I'm like, what the heck is happening here? And so now I will leave them on stage to, like William said, just to kind of acclimate to whatever's going on in that room. And then, I'll just tune them like a minute or two before we go on stage, just kind of run up there and do that. But aside from that, when I lived in Montana, I did used to have a humidifier. Sometimes on acoustic guitar, those like upper frets can start to, like your neck will bend and the upper frets will start to buzz a little bit, and that's usually a humidifying issue. But yeah, beyond those things, I don't know if I do much in the way of care additionally besides those things.
Yeah. I definitely play some acoustic and have a decent acoustic, but I'm such a primarily solid body electric player. I just don't have to think about that most of the time. Plus, I'm not going anywhere. That's helpful. Like my guitars need setup. I play them all a lot, but they only need setup like once every 4 years because they get treated pretty decently.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Yeah, unless I'm changing string gauges or something. Of course.
Yeah, I've played around with. I'm going to continue to play around with this. I've played around with string gauge differences on the road versus at home / in the studio, and I think like for me, the acoustic guitar, I have one in DADGAD and one in standard tuning, and I kind of like at least the DADGAD one to have medium gauge strings for an acoustic, which can be kind of heavy, but I do a lot of strumming stuff, and they just kind of survive the road better versus, if I'm recording or just playing at home, lighter or medium light gauge strings are a little more comfortable and maybe sound a little better recorded, I think. But that's like a, kind of a nitpicky tidbit that I'm kind of experimenting with. So.
Hey, you're talking to the right guy about experimenting with string gauges. We can talk about that all day. We try out our string tension calculator. We can get real weird with it. Yeah. You
got the freaky stuff.
It gets real nerdy real fast. Oh yeah. Well, what's cool is, and this is like this will work for any brand, but if you use our calculator, like say you know what you like in standard tuning, right? And you know the gauges and the scale length and the tuning. You go to the calculator, you plug all that in, and you're like, hey, I'm going to go to DADGAD or I'm going to drop it or whatever you're going to do. Drop the tuning and then bump the gauges around until it matches the tension that you like in standard tuning, and that'll get you really close to something for your alternate tunings, which is a little tip for anybody.
That's kind of
fun. Yeah. We can talk more about that after the show.
So I already have a question. I'll save it. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, go ahead.
Well, the question being like, so you're trying to get the tension of the string, say from some kind of alternate tuning, to be as close to the tension of the strings during the standard tuning, right? Is that what
that you like?
Yeah. Is that? Does tension really translate to playability in a major way?
Oh yeah, big time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's huge because I do a lot of drop tuning, and so if I have say a 48 on top and I'm trying to go down to like drop C, it's just all floppy.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I've wondered about that.
You can push it out of tune really easy. You can hit it out of tune really easy, and it just feels like crap. So you got to go. Typically, people want to, and some people like the looser thing. It's really a personal preference thing. I am so heavy-handed that it just goes blah, and everything's just out of tune, and so I need a little more tension.
That makes so much more sense because I've played around with tuning my DADGAD guitar another step down, so like the C version of DADGAD. Whatever you want to call that. But it definitely is a little scratchy and a little floppy, and I've always been like, man, how do they do this? I wasn't sure if it was just a different body style guitar with a different string gauge or what, but that makes a lot of sense actually, getting the tension.
If you go too far one way or another, it will require a setup.
Sure.
Because you'll have it might not fit in the nut or whatever. There's things to account for. Or if you have a really low action on it and then you tune it down, put bigger strings on it, it might fret buzz.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's considerations there, but like you can usually go, a step or two one way or the other if you don't have an extremely low action and get away with it.
Yeah.
But it's fun to play with. But if you already bring a dadgad guitar, which isn't terribly different than standard tuning, but if you already bring a dadgad and a standard, I would, it might behoove you to play with some different gauges on the dadgad and kind of optimize it so it feels just right.
Yeah. And I've been thinking I want to just like do the dadgad guitar in that step lower, the C version, so that I can sometimes just singing in the key is nice. Key of C is nice. And if I need to play any of our dadgad songs, I can probably just capo it up and it won't be a big deal. So that's my thought. We'll see how I'll find a guitar guy in Nashville. I'm my own guitar guy, which is not saying much. I just restring it pretty much. So
I can help you with that. That's stuff we can talk about after the show.
Heck yes.
Yeah. I got you. No worries there. We'll get this dialed in. Yes. Well, we are approaching the end of the main episode. This was a lot of fun, guys. Thanks for hanging out and bearing with my nonsense over here. Yeah. But I do ask two classic questions at the end of every episode, one of which I'm not sure if is going to apply. So we'll find out. But before I do that, I like to give the guests a chance to take the stage, shout out anybody you want to shout out, plug anything you want to plug. You're talking to a few thousand people right now. So whatever you want to say, the floor is yours.
Ooh.
Go ahead, William.
Oh no. What do I want to plug? We're like starting, I don't even know, like, I guess like, wow. This is really interesting. I'm not sure what do I want to plug? I guess if you've got any ideas as listeners of what we could do as TopHouse, that would bring you joy, just let us know. Because I think that's been kind of an interesting piece of everything right now is like, we could make a music video or like start a podcast which we actually started recording a few episodes of one at one point. And like, I don't know. That's a terrible plug, but that's
we'll work on it.
Jesse, you have to do it. You have to take the plug.
That sounds like hey, get in touch. That's the plug.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I really have anything to plug. I feel like, again, I'm just happy to be here. And like, I'm grateful for people even listening to our silly little songs and us doing the thing. So if there's any TopHouse fans listening or future TopHouse fans listening, just thanks for following along. If this whole band thing fell apart today, I'd be pretty happy with what we were able to do. So thanks for following along, I guess. That's my plug.
Very agree.
Well, it's not going to. I won't let it happen.
Cool. At least my guitar will be set up if it all falls apart.
That's right. Yeah, and for the listeners, go check out TopHouse. It's great stuff, and the links to their stuff, their socials, and all that stuff will be. I used to be able to say in the show notes, but this thing goes out to everything now. So the description, wherever the words are, that's where the links are. Go to the words and find the links. That's where they are. Where I don't know where you're listening or watching this or whatever. I never know anymore. It's all over the place. All right, final questions, and this is the one that I'm not sure will be super applicable, but we'll have to ask it anyway. What is your favorite Boss pedal?
The tuner.
That's everybody's answer.
That's because that's the only Boss. I played with one of their loopers back in the day, but I've used some other tuning pedals, and they're just not the Boss tuner. So I'm sorry, I don't have a unique answer, but it's just the tuner for me. So
I ran in high school. I ran my electric violin through a Boss ME90.
Yeah.
And I know that it's like a cheaper pedal technically. I loved it. It's I sometimes miss it. Just good vibes, to throw the distortion on, and it's a flanger or something, and everyone in the coffee shop's looking at you like you're insane because you're playing electric violin. They're like, what is going on?
Wait, was that the blue one with like the multi effects and everything, or I guess they made it red at some point, but
no, you never saw this one. This was kind of pre TopHouse. Okay. This was like Tomato Soup era.
Gotcha.
William setup.
Tomato Soup.
Another brand to check out.
All right. Nice. I just realized as soon as you said electric violin, I lied. There has been another violinist on the show, Cassandra from Brown Box. I don't know if you guys have seen the Brown Box voltage regulator, but she's there in Nashville too. So sorry, Cassandra, if you are listening to this. I just, I didn't forget you. I just forgot that, the essence of who you are is an electric violinist.
That's much better.
Cassandra, I'm so sorry. She's awesome. She really is. She's super cool. And so if you play a tube band, people, go check out the Brown Box. All right. Final question. Here we go. What is your favorite kind of pizza?
Okay. I have an answer. And I'd like little judgment before I explain my answer.
Okay. Can't guarantee it.
Pepperoni.
Okay.
Not too exciting. I know. It's just good old pepperoni pizza. Oh. But
that's fine.
I'm starting to develop these tastes for things in their, how would you say, like pure or primal state.
Primal state.
Yeah. Like I will eat, bread. My fiance has been getting into making sourdough. If she makes bread, I will just eat the bread. I don't need butter. I like those things, but there's just something about food in its pure state. Same with a burger, like good old bacon cheeseburger, maybe an egg, but I don't need like peanut butter. I don't need mushrooms. I don't need like all these extra weird ingredients on there. Some cheese from France. Just give me a good old cheeseburger. You know what I mean? Just give me a good old pizza.
Yeah.
That's me. I'm kind of a plain Jane these days with pizza.
I love a good pepperoni pizza. It does something for your soul.
It does.
I love it.
Pepperoni pizza for the soul.
Yes. Chicken soup. Who wants that? Pepperoni pizza. How about you, William?
I'm going the opposite of Jesse. I'm going super extra. I want specifically jalapenos, pepperoni, and then a bit of honey on the pizza.
Oh, I like that too.
Type of pizza.
Yeah. I can get into that.
Oh, the Emmy Squared pizza. You're in Nashville occasionally.
Emmy Squared is
Will's
great.
A big Emmy Squared.
I'm literally thinking of Emmy Squared.
Yeah, Emmy Squared. So that leads into, and I always have to do this with Nashville people. So my favorites, I love Emmy Squared. I love Smith & Lentz Brewing's pizza. Really good. Nice. There's one I keep hearing about called Pinky Ring. That's out. I think, where is that one? It's out a little ways. I think it's in one of the burbs, if I remember correctly. Midnight Oil is really good. And I'm sure I'm missing one, but those are my Nashville pizza spots off the top of my head. Well, of course, 5 Points.
Oh, yeah.
That's a crowd pleaser. Yeah.
I feel like you can't go wrong. Like, I will eat frozen pizza that costs $4 or like elegant, I don't know how elegant pizza gets, $40 pizzas. I mean, I kind of love it all for the most part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. Well, anybody in Nashville, there's a list for you to check out, because I do get that. I get the question about Nashville and I get the question about Portland. Where are the pizza spots? I'm like, well, actually, fortunately, I know the answers to these questions.
Heck
so
yes.
There you go. Nice. Well, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. We'll slide over to Patreon and see what kind of nonsense we can get into.
Heck yeah.
Perfect.
All right, everybody. Whoa, I'm going to cough first. Gee whiz. For Jesse and William, this is Blake. And as always, folks, good luck and good tones. All right, folks, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Like I said, this is one of the spookier Patreon chats I've had in quite some time. I'm not really sure what to make of this story. I believe Jesse. I believe what he's saying. But I'm not entirely sure what to make of it. And if you want to be not entirely sure of what to make of it, does that make any sense? Whatever, you know what I mean. Go over to patreon.com/tonemob, where you can get access to that for just $5 buckaroonies a month. And I appreciate it so much. Check out TopHouse, go to their socials, go to the interwebs, and check out their music. It's very, very good. These are some very, very talented folks, and I was really appreciative of them taking the time to come on this weird podcast and have a chat with me. All right, folks, thank you so much. I will talk to you on the internet very soon. Oh, yeah, and if you need more, don't forget to check out Tape Spaghetti, the new podcast with Scott and I, where we talk about weird stuff from the music industry. It's really, really doing well, and I thank everybody who has checked it out so far. But if you haven't yet, please slide over and check it out. Leave us a review, all that good stuff. It helps out immensely. And this show, I really want to keep doing. So please, please check it out and, share it with your friends. Share this all with a friend. All right, that's enough. Let's get off this podcast and on to the next one. All right, folks. Bye-bye.